Well, good afternoon, Central Georgia. I can't believe it, but this is the third weekend in a row where we're talking about the potential for wintry weather. And it just goes to show how this month of January has been nothing short of crazy. But as of right now, our chances are increasing for wintry weather, specifically for places north and east of Central Georgia. So let's get down to the nitty-gritty and look at the details more in depth. Here are the headlines for today. Today is just a chilly day, but it's not horrible. Just like yesterday, we had afternoon highs into the lower 50s, and we're expecting much of the same. And then another big time chill is coming in this weekend as we have an extreme cold watch throughout much of Saturday and into Sunday. So it's going to be quite frigid, but of course with the cold air and moisture pulled together, our snow chances are increasing, but specifically they're increasing for places north of I-16 and east of I-75. So this is the reason why we have that weather impact alert, specifically for the potential of snow showers. That's going to be reserved throughout Saturday. Now, once we get into Saturday evening, the snow will begin to subside, and then we'll sort of shift the thinking of the weather impact alert towards frigid cold, brutally cold temperatures, as we could potentially see feels like temperatures into the single digits. So here are the headlines of the weather impact alert. Of course, if you see any accumulating snowfall, it could stick throughout the next couple of days because, once again, the snow is forecasted to end by the evening hours. So that's going to be right around sunset where temperatures are going to be below freezing. And we could potentially enter an extended period of below freezing temperatures, causing anything to fall to potentially stick and freeze for an extended period of time. So we could have slippery and hazardous road conditions, very similar to what we experienced last year. For those of you who remember the big winter storm that we received snow once again for the majority of that Tuesday, and then the next day throughout that morning it was extremely slippery. So for places that receive any accumulating snow, could have another hazardous travel condition period. Now, the totals are expected to be higher the more east you are in Central Georgia. Specifically, the more north you are in I-16 and the more east you are compared to I-75. We'll also have some cold weather alerts that have been issued. We have that extreme cold watch in place. We also have the winter storm watch in place as well for places farther towards the northeast. So here's a look at the sky cameras across Central Georgia. Mostly cloudy conditions are present, not anything compared to yesterday where it was mostly clear. So cloud cover is going to increase over the next couple of hours, and then by tomorrow we'll also have cloudier weather as well. Could see some sprinkles. However, the main precipitation chance that we're tracking is the potential for snow throughout Saturday. Current temperature in Perry, 52 degrees. Here's a look at the current temperatures all across the southeast. And we're in sort of a boundary area where cold air is confined for North Georgia, and for places higher towards the north, seeing still Arctic air confined for places towards the north in the Midwest and into the Great Plains, seeing 17 degrees in Indianapolis, 23 degrees in Kansas City, 25 degrees in Lexington. This is not as cold as what we had last weekend, where we had temperatures in the single digits in those areas. And if we get more down to the south, temperatures are increasing slightly, seeing 40s in Atlanta, Rome, and Athens. But as I mentioned, we're within that dividing line of cold air and warm air, not necessarily due to the wedge, which influenced our temperatures throughout this past Sunday. However, it's just due to a stalled boundary. So most of Central Georgia is experiencing lower 50s, seeing still some upper 40s for places farther towards the north. Now, one thing that I'm really enjoying is the calm winds. This has not been the case earlier this work week. We had gusty winds of up to 20 to 30 miles per hour throughout the start of the work week, throughout Monday and Tuesday. And because of that, we had brutally low feels like temperatures. On Tuesday, we had, once again, single digit feels like temperatures and morning lows into the mid-teens. We're expecting much of the same for this upcoming Sunday, but thankfully, we're not having any gusty winds, causing some feels like temperatures to be relatively tame, reflecting the actual temperatures. Here's a look at the satellite and radar showing mostly cloudy conditions for most of our area. Seeing breaks in the cloud cover for places farther down to the south, such as Crisp County, Wilcox County, and Telfair County, including Wheeler County as well. extending the view, we are dry. This doesn't take into account clouds, but much of the southeast is dry at the current moment. Now, as I mentioned yesterday, we had afternoon highs into the lower 50s, expecting much of the same today, lower 50s with calm winds, a little breezy earlier this morning, but thankfully the winds have subsided. And once again, even though these temperatures are warmer than what we experienced earlier today or earlier this week, it's still way below average for this time of year. The average high is around 60 degrees, and the wind chills are also expected to be similar to the actual highs. Now, of course, I know everyone is here to check out the timing and the chances for wintry weather. So here's a look at the future view. Over the next 24 hours, we could see cloud cover once again return for tomorrow afternoon. Could see some isolated sprinkles throughout the evening hours. Yesterday, this model showed widespread rain. Now it's sort of backed off on the idea for any widespread rain throughout Friday evening. However, once again, it's still holding on to the idea for snow to occur Saturday morning, and which could linger throughout much of Saturday afternoon and then subsiding by Saturday evening. So here is a look at a closer look at the future view. And once again shows the snow beginning in our northern counties by the mid-morning, by 8 to 9 o'clock in the morning. And you notice that the temperatures are dipping down into the lower 30s and upper 20s. So once temperatures get cold enough, seeing much of that moisture transform into snow. And then with this model run and with the past couple of models, it's been showing the snow being confined for places once again north of I-16 and east of I-75. However, we do see some isolated pockets of snow and some flurries reaching as far south as Unadilla, affecting places such as Warner Robins. And also this model shows consistent snow over Macon. Now, the big uncertainty that we have to answer over the next couple of days is how far south and how far west is the snow going to be? Because one of the reasons why the snow is occurring is because moisture is in place. But we know moisture is going to be higher in places more towards the northeast. But will that moisture track down to places farther south, such as Macon and Warner Robins? If it does, then we could see the higher chances of accumulating snow for Macon and Warner Robins and for places farther down to the south and west. So once again, just zooming back, snow consistently falling throughout the afternoon for our northeastern counties. And we get into the evening, that's when the snow will eventually begin to track towards the east, and we should begin to dry out. However, one thing I want you to notice are the temperatures. Temperatures getting into the teens closer to midnight, especially for north central Georgia, south central Georgia within the lower 20s. And I also want to go back just to show you when we will begin to be below freezing. It shows by the late morning, that's when we'll dip down to below freezing. And we're not going to get warmer than that until Sunday afternoon. That's one of the reasons why we're also highlighting the extended period of cold temperatures, because it could potentially cause some damage towards your pipes. Also could cause some damage towards your plants as well, especially for a freeze that long. So with the potential for snow, this is what our graph model is showing in terms of the potential accumulations. I really don't buy this. I think this is a very bullish look on the accumulations. It's saying that Sparta, Hancock County, is going to see up to 4 to 5 inches of snow. As of right now, I think what the National Weather Service is saying and what the other models are saying is that the chances as of right now could receive, or what the northeastern counties could receive, is 2 inches of snow, maybe a little higher than that. But I think 5 to 4 inches is getting a little too aggressive. But overall, it shows the higher totals being confined for places more towards the northeast. And then as you go more down to the south and west, the estimated totals begin to decrease. So this goes to show that the cutoff line in terms of snow and basically nothing will be in our area. So for people wanting snow in Macon and Warner Robins, the next couple of days are going to be crucial in order to see if the cutoff line is going to be more west of Macon or more east of Macon, and that will definitely influence the snowfall forecast for those areas. So because of the wintry weather chances and the increased chances for snow, much of the northeastern counties of central Georgia are under a winter storm watch. Now, the reason why they're under a winter storm watch is because certainty is higher for the possible accumulation of 2 inches or maybe even more. We're also going to have wind gusts of up to 35 miles per hour throughout the weekend. So once again, counties included within the winter storm watch is Twiggs County, Wilkinson County, Washington County, Hancock County, Baldwin County, Putnam County, Jones County, and Jasper County. And this is for throughout most of Saturday. So this is a hand-drawn forecast that Alex Pry and I have drawn earlier this morning, and it shows that the snow is likely for northeast central Georgia. This is compiling all the different models and seeing what they have shown, and we're seeing consistent snowfall for those areas. Now, places farther towards the west and south, we've highlighted areas within a possible for flurries. Now, the reason why is because we don't know where the cutoff line is going to be, determining where snow and where the moisture is going to be compared to less moisture-stricken areas. So flurries are going to be possible as of right now for places as far south as Hawkinsville, Eastman, and McRae. Chances for more steady snow are increasing for places such as Macon and potentially Warner Robins. But as I mentioned earlier, the next couple of days are going to be crucial in terms of seeing where that cutoff line is going to lie. But this all depends on the track of a nearby low pressure system that's going to provide that necessary moisture needed for snow to develop. So we have 2 scenarios. We have scenario 2 and scenario 1. Scenario 2 now seems unlikely, especially with the increased chances of snow. Originally, scenario 2 showed a potential of the low pressure system going well offshore, which would mean that we wouldn't receive any moisture at all, confining much of the snow for the Carolinas. Scenario 1 now looks way more likely that the center of the low is going to ride up the Atlantic coast, and we're going to have that necessary moisture needed for snow. But the question still lies on whether that moisture is going to be only confined for northeast and east central Georgia, or is that moisture going to spread apart all across central Georgia as a whole, which would increase those snow chances in general for places farther towards the west. So here's a look at the headlines that cover the idea or the forecast for snow for this upcoming weekend. So over the past 24 hours, the chances of snow have increased by a good bit. The totals for snow are looking at around 2 inches, or maybe a little bit more farther towards the northeast, closer to ½ an inch farther towards the west. So areas such as Macon and Warner Robins, looking at lower totals farther for west central Georgia, such as Taylor, Macon, and Dooley County, where they could potentially see flurries and dusting, but we don't expect anything to accumulate. Now, we have high confidence in the location. That's going to be for northeast central Georgia. The precipitation type, we know it's going to be snow. Thankfully, this is not going to be an ice situation, meaning we're not going to see sleet or freezing rain. We could have some ice accumulate on the roads once again for that snow to potentially freeze once temperatures are well below freezing. But we have low confidence in the specific amounts. Right now, we're just throwing ballpark estimates, once again, 2 inches. But once we get more data on the specific amount of moisture that we're going to receive, that's when we could go specific in terms of our forecast snowfall accumulations. So here's a recap over the next 3 days. So once again, today we'll have afternoon highs into the lower 50s, cloudy. Same thing tomorrow. We have a 20% chance of some isolated showers. Then we get into Sunday, and that's where we'll start to see chances increase for winter weather, specifically for snow. That will be confined for places farther towards the east and towards the north. Once we get past Saturday, actually, that graphic was wrong. So that graphic updated. It showed Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. That Sunday graphic is supposed to be for Saturday. A little confusing there, but for Sunday, it's going to be completely dry and sunny. The main story for Sunday is going to be the extremely cold temperatures. And of course, we've mentioned multiple times that wind chill values, feels like temperatures, are driven, of course, by the winds. The windy the weather is, that means the lower the wind chill values are going to be. And throughout the weekend, we're going to have breezy conditions, potential gusts of up to 30 miles per hour. This model shows values closer to 40 miles per hour. And we also get into Sunday morning, still seeing that occasional gust of up to 20 miles per hour. So the feels like temperatures are going to be quite brutal. If we take a look at the feels like temperatures once we get into Saturday, we'll start seeing feels like temperatures into the lower 20s once we get into Saturday mid-morning, around the time where the snow should begin to fall. By the midday hour, we should see feels like temperatures into the mid-teens, and then potentially into the evening, single digits will begin. But then it gets worse in the morning. Once we get to 6 o'clock in the morning, we could see 3 degrees in terms of wind chill values in Macon, 5 degrees in Dublin. Brutally cold. Actually, this will be close to the dangerous category because places farther up towards the north could potentially see feels like temperatures closer to 0 degrees. So this will be colder than the wind chill values that we experienced on Tuesday morning. And I also showed the graphic before that showing the timing of when we are going to go below freezing. That's around Saturday morning, and we won't warm up to above freezing until Saturday afternoon. So this is a graphic made by the National Weather Service showing the potential period of time where we're going to be below freezing throughout the weekend. Macon could see 40 hours straight of below freezing temperatures, and then those hours will decrease the farther south you are. So 19 hours straight of below freezing temperatures, 17 hours of below freezing temperatures in Vidalia, and up to 23 hours of below freezing temperatures in Dublin. But then we'll have longer periods the more north you live. So because of that, having the precautions necessary for a large freeze is also going to be very important for this upcoming weekend to trip your faucets and to also protect any vulnerable plants that you have. So because of the extreme cold, we're going to be under an extreme cold watch. This starts from Saturday evening until Saturday afternoon because of the wind chills in the single digits and near zero the far north we are in central Georgia. So counties such as Jasper, Putnam, and Hancock County are within the risk of seeing near zero wind chill values. So that's another story that we have to talk about other than the snow. Brutally cold weather once we get past the snow. Now, of course, the snow, if anything falls and accumulates, it has a potential to freeze once again because temperatures are going to be below freezing for an extended period of time. So it's going to be very important to be cautious on the roadways, especially throughout Sunday morning and even into the afternoon. Once again, 70% of snow and ice-related injuries occur from car crashes. So it's going to be very important to leave extra space between you and the vehicle in front of you, and also to brake gently. Don't make any sudden movements within the roadways. Here's a look at the long-range future view, and it shows a dry start to the week. Once we're done with the snow, we're going to be very dry throughout Sunday, Monday, and into Tuesday. We get into Wednesday, we'll start to see increased cloud cover, and then our next rain chance will be ahead of us Wednesday afternoon due to another frontal boundary, which could provide us a moderate to low chance of rain. And then we're looking at mostly cloudy conditions throughout next Thursday. Here's a look at the weather impact alert. So it shows the weather impact alert beginning Saturday morning and lingering until Monday morning. Now, this may be confusing because we're talking about potential snow and frigid cold. The snow will be reserved for Saturday. So the snow should start by Saturday morning and linger all throughout the afternoon and evening. However, that weather impact alert is still in place throughout Sunday and Monday morning because of the frigid cold and that extended period of time where we are going to be below freezing. So it could cause damage towards your pipes and your plants. So it's going to be important to protect those items, so your pipes and your plants throughout this upcoming weekend, especially as we get into that extended period of below freezing temperatures. Drive with caution, especially Saturday night and for Sunday morning, with the potential for that snow to refreeze once we get into below freezing temperatures. So I'm going to answer any questions that you have on Facebook. All All right, Claire Bradshaw, I believe the snow, and I see it here in Fort Valley. Yeah, so Fort Valley, the uncertainty is there on whether you will see any accumulating snow. I'd say that you will probably see some flurries as of right now. It all depends on where the moisture is going to lie and if the cutoff to the moisture is going to go as far west as Fort Valley. How will Sunday look? Will it be safe to drive from Warner Robins to Macon? Depends on when you're planning to drive. I'd say Sunday evening, once temperatures go above freezing, I'd say you'll have a better overall conditions to drive. Sunday morning looks dicey. I would stay inside for Sunday morning. What's the chance for snow in central Georgia? They're high for places more towards the north of I-16 and east of I-75. So northeast central Georgia. If you live south of in Perry, or if you live in Dooley County, Taylor County, Macon County, even Peach County, looks like you could receive some flurries. But the chances are high for places in northeast central Georgia. So I'm going to show that winter storm watch once again. So if you're in that winter storm watch, you have the potential for 2 inches. And this is outlined by the National Weather Service. Macon, there's some uncertainty with Macon. Chances are growing that we could see some accumulating snow, but it all depends on where that moisture is going to be on Saturday. So Saturday there's 2 scenarios for Macon. Either we see up to 1 inch or maybe 2 inches of snow, or just flurries. But it all depends on where that moisture, where is it going to be throughout Saturday morning. Is Saturday morning safe to drive in Macon and Warner Robins? Depends on how early Saturday morning. If it's before 7 o'clock, then I'd say it's going to be very safe. And generally, it depends on where you are. So Macon and Warner Robins, I'd say it's going to be safe in general for Saturday morning. And then maybe Saturday afternoon, if you see any snow, then it could get dicey. So what about Wrightsville? So Wrightsville, the National Weather Service is having higher confidence in terms of seeing snow for Johnson County, so for Wrightsville itself. So that's the reason why Johnson County, Wrightsville, is included in that winter storm watch. Sunday, no snow for Sunday. This will only be for Saturday. So Sunday is going to be very cold. And then Monday is going to be very cold too. Cold and sunny. Twiggs County is within that winter storm watch. Now, I will say that in terms of accumulating snow, it will be higher the more north you live in Twiggs County. If you live south of Twiggs County, closer to Houston and Bleckley County, then the chances for snow are lower. It just all depends on how far north you live. If you live north of I-16, chances are higher. If you live south of I-16, then they're lower. Let me go into the future view just to show the timing of this. So it shows some isolated pockets of snow and potential flurries for Macon and Warner Robins. Now, I do want to say this model is not set in stone. So I'm showing you the 11 o'clock and 12 o'clock hour. I doubt that this is exactly what it's going to look like throughout that time. But this model shows some snow falling in Macon and Warner Robins throughout 11 to 12 o'clock. But in my honest opinion, I think you should be good to drive throughout that time, because I don't think we'll see those isolated pockets as much as later in the afternoon and evening. Should we limit our time outside with temperatures that cold? as long as you bundle up. Now, once you get into the late night and early morning, once temperatures get into the single digits, then yeah, you should limit your time outside. But with temperatures into the teens and 20s, just bundle up, have your best, most heaviest coat with you, and you should be good. I agree, Dean. I am starting to get tired of winter weather. I just didn't expect 3 weekends in a row with the potential of winter weather. I mean, January has been downright crazy. Alrighty then, I think that will be the end of the stream as we get closer to 2:30, but do not worry, I'll be back tomorrow at 2 o'clock at the same exact hour. And then also Ben Jones, he's going to pop up on the stream at around 9 o'clock later tonight and 9 o'clock tomorrow night as well. And he'll be answering more questions on Facebook especially as we get closer to the event, we'll get more information. So we'll also have better answers and more specific answers towards your questions. But hopefully, I hope you're enjoying one of the last days of temperatures into the 50s. So one of the last days of semi-warm temperatures before we get into the brutally cold weather of this weekend. So thank you and have a beautiful day.